Howdy, folks. Welcome back to the Steampunk Desperado channel. Today, my special guest is my friend Peggy. She's here because a few weeks ago I did a show about dogs of the future. I'm afraid she took offense and insisted on equal time. So today, our topic is cats in science fiction. You may not be aware of it, but these noble creatures have had a significant role in the genre. So, with Peggy's encouragement, let's forge ahead into the furry world of feline futurism. So, Peggy had some important feline business to take care of, so I'm going to have to continue without her. I'm going to open with a quote from the late, great Terry Pratchett, whom I once had the honor of meeting at a conference here in Phoenix. If cats looked like frogs, we'd realize what nasty, cruel little bastards they are. Sorry, Peggy. Style, that's what people remember. Mrs. Desperado might take issue with the bit about frogs, because she's always had a weakness for them. They're an example of an animal whose grotesquerie renders them endearingly cute. But I digress. Dogs have been called man's best friend, and if that's the case, cats would be man's self-centered roommates. Their aloofness is probably why we don't see so many examples of cats in fiction, though I can't say I've done a real and accurate survey. Before I get into fictional cats, however, I want to talk about a feline hero who played a similar role to the Russian dog Laika, the first mammal in space. This is Felicette, a French cat launched into orbit, or near orbit, in 1963. Whereas Russia sent dogs and America sent monkeys, the French international quest to always be unique and different went with a feline. The researchers chose this particular cat because of her calm disposition. She traveled 98 miles up while her vitals were constantly monitored by electronics and returned safely to Earth. In 2019, a bronze statue of her was erected in her honor at the International Space University in Strasbourg, France. So now, back to fiction. Cats in science fiction can take the role of companion, confederate, or even the main character of the story. Often they are telepathic or genetically engineered. Sometimes they are robots, and they may also appear in the guise of alien races with cat-like qualities. Even as a secondary character, they can play the role of catalyst in moving the story along. An example of the last one is Pete, short for Petronius, and he appears in Robert A. Heinlein's 1956 story, The Door into Summer. Pete was inspired by the author's real-life cat, who hated going out in the winter and seemed to think that its owner was hiding the good weather from it and insisted on him opening all the doors. The human hero of the story is Daniel Boone Davis, an engineer and inventor of household robots. Think a Roomba, only much cooler. And he has been betrayed by both his business partner and his fiancée. And he decides to put himself into cold sleep. And he's going to sleep for 30 plus years and awake in the 21st century, the amazing, miraculous 21st century, where his troubles will be long gone. To me, it seemed that he chose this path partly so that Pete could remain with him. If he went to a foreign country, he might have to leave Pete behind. And there's at least one occasion when a side trap to save Pete or to grab Pete as he's fleeing accidentally saves Dan from disaster. So Pete does play an important role. Jumping 60 years forward, a pet cat plays an important role in John Scalzi's 2023 book, Starter Villain. Again, we have a down on his luck protagonist. Charlie, who has recently been divorced and is broke and is living in his deceased father's house, which his siblings are trying to sell out from under him. His cat Hera, who is his only friend and companion and solace, turns out to be a spy sent by his rich, reclusive uncle, who has, among other things, genetically engineered cats so they can understand human speech and type on a keyboard. At his uncle's funeral, Charlie discovers that the man he barely knew was actually a supervillain who expects him to take his place, as he had no kids of his own. The cats serve both as uncle's operatives and as a managerial class on his secret Caribbean island lair. It's a fast-paced, funny novel whose main shortcoming is that it's not as dark as I'd hoped. I mean, it's called Starter Villain, and the dead uncle really was not that much of a villain, it turns out. Of course, cats being what they are, when they do choose to cooperate with humans, it's totally on their own terms. I have several good examples of this, starting with Andre Norton's 1959 novel, The Beastmaster. Now, Andre Norton was actually a woman. Alice Norton, I believe, was her real name. And she's proof that the publishing industry really did promote women in science fiction. It's just that they forced them to take male pen names. Anyway, in her 1959 novel, The Beastmaster, Hostine Storm's telepathic feline companion, a hybrid puma/dune cat named Sura, is one of the major characters. Hostine is a refugee from Earth, on which human civilization was destroyed by an alien nuclear attack. He seeks a new life on a frontier world called Arzor, which is reminiscent of the Old West, and they even have an indigenous alien race that's causing some problems, and of course the humans are being kind of rotten to them as well. Anyway, Hostine brings his animal helpers with him, and they were from his military career, whereas Beastmaster was an actual position, an actual job, and they served as operatives. They could attack, they could spy, they could sabotage, they could do all the great things. Besides the cat, there is an eagle and two meerkats. It's a pretty cool novel with, a lot of exciting action. And by the way, these days we hear a lot about characters being blackwashed. Characters who are supposed to be white, suddenly they're black because everybody has to be black, right? Well, in this case, Hostine is a Navajo. So if you've seen the 1982 film or the later Canadian TV series, it's wrong. He's a Native American and they shouldn't have changed him. And I stick with that. And because in the story, his heritage, his, closeness to the nature and his affinity with animals, that plays an important part in the story. Also, his concept of honor. And again, the way that he can relate to this indigenous race on this world, because he kind of knows what they feel like. Next, we have Cordwainer Smith's The Instrumentality of Mankind, which is a series that he first published in the 1950s through the 1960s. And he had a great career, unfortunately, terribly short one, Mr. Smith, that is, because he died in his 50s. Sad, sad, sad. Now, his first and most famous instrumentality story is Scanners Live in Vain, published in 1950. It takes place in a galactic civilization that came after Earth was destroyed in a nuclear war. Familiar theme. And in the story, the game of Rat and Dragon, there are characters called the Partners, which help humans battle alien monsters who pop out from another dimension to menace human travelers in space. Now, it goes on for a while before we realize that the Partners are actually cats, common house cats. And they have telepathic links with these humans who are specially trained for this. The cats fly about in kitty-sized spaceships, which must be adorable, with advanced weaponry. And they can blast these alien monsters to smithereens. And the humans help direct them. Now, why do they need cats? Because of their quick reflexes and their predatory instincts. They're the only ones who can actually handle these dangerous creatures. And next we have the Honor Harrington military sci-fi series by David Weber. And these books, beginning with On Basilisk Station in 1992, and in 13 more books in the series, the title character, she's a female military leader. She's very badass. She has an animal companion, a tree cat named Nimitz. And though he seems like a pet because he doesn't talk out loud, and he rides around on her shoulder, he's actually much more than an animal. Tree cats are an intelligent, telepathic alien species native to this planet Sphinx. The Sphinxians form deep bonds with Earthers, often adopting human companion for life. Nimitz and Honor have this telepathic bond, so they're perfect partners. Nimitz plays an important role in the series. Here's another theme: cats as a force of their own, who can ally with humanity but have their own agenda. Jim Butcher. Now, he is best known for his Dresden Files series about a magical detective, but he also did a very cool steampunk series, which he is continuing, I hope. Cinder Spires, two books so far, 2015 and 2023, as well as a related novella. This features intelligent cats who exist as an alternate civilization within the giant spires where all of humanity dwells. This is because the outside world has been rendered uninhabitable by a toxic fog populated with mutated monsters. These cats are organized into tribes with cool sounding names like the Silent Paws. Though they can't speak human tongues, they do have their own language, which is called, appropriately, cat. And humans can learn to speak and understand that. Returning to Terry Pratchett, good old Terry. In his long running Discworld series, there is a book called The Amazing Morris and His Educated Rodents, 2008, in which the cat is actually the primary character and he is in charge. Now, this is not the Morris from the cat food commercials, if you remember. It's actually spelled like Maurice. He is a talking cat who has accidentally been rendered sentient, or sapient rather, by a magical refuse dump behind the wizard's invisible university. Yes, it's a magical accident. His companions are a troop of talking rats who have also been rendered intelligent by this same garbage dump. Anyway, he and this troop of rats and a boy who can play the pipe, they are a group of scam artists who travel around the countryside, going from town to town where their rats, infest the town. And the boy says, I'm a piper. I can draw these rats out with my magical song. And the town pays him. The rats all leave. And at the end, they split the proceeds. You wouldn't think rats would need money, but I guess they do. Anyway, it's a pretty cool story with Morris being a real scoundrel, but a lovable one in any case. In our next category, cats serve as an inspiration for alien races, again like the tree cat, only a little bit less cat-like. And these aren't exactly cats, but have many of the characteristics. Probably the best known is from the cult TV classic series Red Dwarf. 1988 to 93, 2009 to 2017, in which the cat is one of the major characters, and he's played by Danny John Jules. He's a human-like creature who evolved from a cat many, many years ago after a radiation accident mutated his feline ancestor. He's a member of the oddball crew of the Red Dwarf spaceship. He has feline fangs, so he actually kind of looks like a vampire. And he has many cat-like qualities, including being lazy, selfish, and vain. In my view, he is the coolest character on the show, which is a pretty silly comedy. If you haven't checked it out, you should at least try it. Then there is a cat-like alien race called the Kzinti, which are featured in Larry Niven's Known Space Stories. And they're one of the many fascinating alien races that he's created. Kzinti look like big two-legged tiger people. They have a very warlike nature, and they detest other races for their weakness. It's common for a Kazin male to assassinate his father in order to take his place. It's just considered normal, you know. It's also an extremely male-dominated species. In fact, the females don't even talk. They literally aren't intelligent enough. Sorry, women, it's just the way this bunch are. And the first mention is in Niven's story, The Warriors, from 1966, and a Kazin character figures prominently in the award-winning Ringworld novel, 1970, and its sequels. In the 1988 anthology, The Man-Kazin Wars, jointly edited with the late, great Jerry Pournelle and also Dean Ing, Niven opened up the setting to other writers. That is the Kzinti, have appeared in many of Niven's stories, and even in Star Trek the Animated Series, for which Niven wrote some of the episodes, and that was aired in 73 through 74, believe it or not. Last but not least, we have to mention anime. So, our granddaughter, that is Peggy's human, Alice, has made me promise to mention an anime whose cats have an important role in the story. It's the classic Sailor Moon, which was a manga from 1991 to 97, and then a series from 92 to 97, which they rebooted as Sailor Moon Crystal from 2014 to 2016. Now, the series features a group of schoolgirls who can transform into Sailor Guardians. They're magical girls with incredible powers, and each of them is named after a heavenly body. Now, the talking black cat Luna plays an important role in introducing Sailor Moon to her actual destiny, the actual regular schoolgirl whose name I forget. Anyway, Luna is not the only intelligent cat on the show. There's also Artemis and later Diana. You may notice the moon theme in their names. Peggy's back again to bid everybody farewell. I'd like to close saying that these are not by any means all the cats in science fiction, but I think they're a nice representative sample, and there's a lot more of them than you would expect. To close, I'd like to quote Terry Pratchett once more. In ancient times, cats were worshipped as gods. They have not forgotten this. This has been Cats in Science Fiction. Maybe someday I'll write a science fiction cat story too. Please comment any favorite cat stories that I forgot to mention. Please like and subscribe. Please also check out my works on Amazon. There's the links in the description as always. For now, this is Steampunk Desperado saying adios amigos from the Steampunk Desperado channel, where the past meets the future and the present is perfect.